Guys, big surprise! We get a little early Christmas gift from Blizzard, and that is patch 1.35. It's on the PTR since yesterday evening, and it comes as a surprise because we just had patch 1.34, and it's also the content of this patch because it's balance! Yes, balance patches. We were hoping for this, we were waiting for this, and we finally get it. This is pretty damn awesome, and it also gives us custom campaign, which is also pretty damn awesome. So let's go through the content of this patch, and then we give you some time to give feedback on it, and then of course you will get the balanced feedback videos from myself, from Remo, etc, etc, etc. So I hope you can read this nicely. I should maybe mirror this. Nope, that was the wrong one. Was still the wrong one. There we go. So, this is the PTR, was posted yesterday. We've opened the PTR for testing the next version 1.35 over the holidays. Patch 1.35 features custom campaigns. This is something that the user-generated content community was hoping for a long time. Balance updates, map pool updates, those are the things that the Melee community was hoping for a long time. Leaderboard fixes, absolutely necessary, and additional improvements. So let's dive into this. Thanks for testing the PTR, and special thanks to all the community content creators who created new and updated old maps. Shout out Map Makers community. Custom campaigns is probably not for our audience too big, but for general Warcraft ecosystem, really good. That was part of Reign of Chaos Frozen Throne, and it was then taken away with Reforged. Makes it just way easier to create these campaigns like Reforged, like Chronicles of the Second War. And this is back now. You can download from Hive or make their own. Cool. I heard from Insane Monster that it's a little rough around the edges, but everybody is super happy that it's back. Custom campaigns can now track the difficulty a mission was completed on. Nice. Like, these are all very rudimentary changes and additions, but it's good to get it back and get it restored. And I'm very excited about Reforged and Chronicles of the Second War in the future, so glad that they got a lot of fixes. And yeah, all the codecs, all the formats updated to 2022 or 2023 in that regard. But most important, balance. General. Disclaimer, I'll just read them out for you to show you the change. I will not comment on it too much. I will explain a little bit, but not give my opinion just yet. Balance. General. Tavern Revive cost increased by 5% at all levels. Tavern Revive is pretty good because it gives you the hero back immediately, and almost all races have a solution to fix the big issue of Tavern Revive, which is half HP, no mana. So getting a Tavern Revive is usually pretty good. It's now a little more expensive. Human. Blacksmith lumber cost reduced by 60 to 50. Peasant HP increased from 230 to 240. Minimal changes. Control magic moved back to tier 3. This is where it originally was before a previous patch. It is now back to tier, or behind the tier 3 wall. So spellbreakers get a nerf with this. Blood Mage. Siphon mana cost increased, or doubled basically. Siphon mana drain rate reduced. So you get less mana from an opposing hero, and it's more expensive. So Blood Mage nerfed. Holy Light cooldown reduced. That is a buff. Polymorph cost reduced from 220 to 200. A little more streamlined. Also Sorcerer's buff. Mechanical Critter gives more vision. Doesn't explode. Remo's idea didn't go fully through. Siege engines get a complete revamp. And this is crazy. They can attack units. Their damage is cut in half. They are not fortified armor, but heavy armor, like a knight, etc. Barrage damage is increased. So a better anti-air, but way easier to kill. That is a rework of a unit unlike anything we've seen in the past years. So I think, okay, I can tell you that now. Some of these changes, as we're on the topic of a siege engine, some of these changes are still done by the old Blizzard team that released Reforged. So some of these changes are 2 years old. This is one of these changes. And I spoke to the designer, or the person that was responsible for this, and he said, yeah, that was my idea. I wanted to make siege engines more fun, because at the moment they're very anti-fun, and I changed this, but originally I didn't reduce the base damage by so much, as it is halved now, and my idea was to let barrage hit ground units as well. But this has been removed. So I said I don't have an opinion, or I don't want to state opinions, but siege engines right now with this, or with these changes, are probably the worst unit in the history of the game. They lose to Murlocs. They are ridiculously weak. So either we revert this, or we implement the barrage change as well. Mass teleport cooldown. This is one of the biggest nerfs in Warcraft history. Mass teleport cooldown increased. That is a nerf. Mortar team HP increased. That is a buff. Siege engines no longer decreases in unit level when getting the barrage upgrade. That is a nice bug fix that I've been asking for a long time. The problem was, to explain this a little bit, siege engines were patched not too long ago that they give more HP. For that, the unit level was increased to 4. But when you research barrage, the tank, the siege engine, becomes the unit siege engine with barrage. So it's a different unit. And Blizzard, back when they patched the siege engine, forgot to change the unit with barrage. So an upgraded siege engine gave less XP than a normal siege engine. And that forgetting about morphing units is a theme that you will see later, because, for example, you saw that the peasant HP is increased. There is a bug that the militia HP, for example, is not increased. So Blizzard, you gotta know how units react when they morph into something and follow up with the changes, because that's important. Lots of changes here. Some good, some bad. I will go into this with an analysis later. Orcs. This is probably one of the most anticipated nerfs. Headhunter cost increased by 20 in gold and lumber. So no changes to the building time or anything, just the cost, and quite heavily. Blademaster Mirror Image does 10% of Blademaster's base damage. This is something that we see in Dota. This is something that a lot of people wanted for the Blademaster Mirror Image illusion all the way. This, I might, now the Blademaster illusion can wake up creeps, pull creeps. I mean, it was doable with illusions before, but now you can steal creeps. I think that's the big difference, because normal illusions could also cancel clarity and heal selves. That's the only real difference I see. Like, it helps a bit with creep speed, and you can steal last hits now. Endurance aura movement speed reduced from 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 to 0.1, 1.5, and 2. This is, as you can see later, in line with the Unholy aura, and a pretty big nerf to movement speed. Witch Doctor healing wards increased from 5 to 10 HP. That is the HP of the ward itself, and that is not the amount of healing it does. Stasis Trap activation delay reduced from 9 to 7 seconds. So how a Stasis Trap works is, you set it, then it becomes invisible, then it detects a unit in the radius, and then it takes a long time to activate. That delay has been reduced and makes it a little more playable. Brute Strength upgrade, that is the upgrade for grunts. HP bonus increased by 50 from 100 to 150. That's a pretty heavy buff. 50% on top. Few changes to orc, but heavy amplifications, I think. Night Elves. Tranquility cooldown doubled from 60 to 120. A lot of people complained that Tranquility is way too strong, as it's the only ultimate that has great use outside of fights, and that is a channeling ability. So using it in fights is really hard because it can be cancelled by ensnare, by hex, by sleep, you know it. But it has great usage outside the fight because it heals your units and you can save Moon Juice or just heal up super quickly after a fight and push again. Plus, 1 minute of a cooldown is very little compared to other ultimates. So this was doubled. Starfall was reduced from 3 minutes to 2 minutes and also cheaper. So the ultimates were addressed here, a couple of them. Talents in Crow form now does piercing damage instead of magic damage. Talent Crow form, you get it on Adept, then the Talent becomes a Crow form, and at the moment it is magic damage. That doesn't do too much. That means, of course, also that destroyers are, for example, immune at the moment to Crow form. Now, piercing damage. Crow form talents can attack destroyers and is the third anti-air unit with piercing damage. Very interesting addition to the anti-air arsenal. Patu, for example, was really excited about this one. And it's very strong. They win against destroyers now in a one-on-one fight. Entangle duration on units nerfed quite heavily on the later levels, a little bit on the early levels. I guess everybody is looking for an Entangle nerf. Thorn's Aura, one of the most useless auras in the game for a long time, has been buffed also by 50%. That is a lot. Like, half the damage you do to a unit that is affected by Thorn's Aura gets thrown back to you as damage. Okay. Mountain Giants start with +2 armor, but hardened skin damage reduction is weaker. So the tier 2 Mountain Giant is a little better. The tier 3 Mountain Giant is a little weaker. Probably the biggest change for Night Elf, I'd say, Ultra Vision requires tier 2. It's a very strong upgrade that gives you vision in the first night, and you can see your opponent, but your opponent can't see you if you have Ultra Vision. Now that requires tier 2, and in the first night can't be used, should make the early game a little easier for non-Night Elves. And Immolation, a spell that is super fun to use, to cast, gets addressed because it wasn't used because it was just inefficient the way it worked. Mana drain reduced from 7 to 5, so it's cheaper to use Immolation. Damage per interval increased, so the damage has been buffed by 50%. From 10 to 15, from 15 to 20, always a little bit. And the Immolation duration reduced from 1 to 0.5. That's a little misleading. That is the tick. So at the moment, you have a Demon Hunter with Immolation, and it does damage every second. So now with that change, it does damage every half a second. So it's faster. That also means that the ticks apply 2 times in the same time. So this combined with this is a sick damage boost. That is an insane damage boost to a degree where you can almost tank 7 knights. You can destroy pretty much everything with the new Immolation. We got some videos. As I said, hey, you guys are excited for the peasants being a little tankier? Just look at this. Look at this damage. This is level 1 Immolation. Level 1 Immolation is that strong. And that's not intended. That can't be intended. I mean, it does what's mentioned in the patch notes. But I don't think they realized that changing the tick damage is doubling the damage. This is something that Remo wrote in his patch suggestion, that it would be nice to change this. I don't think they realized changing the tick damage or halving the tick rate doubles the damage. So if you do this, you have to reduce this. Otherwise, Demon Hunter is the most insane hero in the game. So this just has to be adjusted. I think it's cool that they change big things like this. So good idea, big problem, easy to fix though. Undead! We all know that Undead is too strong, don't we? Anti-magic shield can now receive the same summon magic damage inflicted by Dispel, Purge, and Abolish magic. So anti-magic shield is of course the adept upgrade skill from the Banshee. It protects you from magic damage and protects you from spells like Stormbolt, which is very, very strong. So there was basically nothing you can do about it. It's a shell around your unit that has a certain amount of HP, and if that HP is gone, that shield disappears, or if the duration expires. Now, you can treat anti-magic shell basically as a summon and dispel through the HP of the magic shield. That is a huge nerf to it, but I think also justified. It's more in line with the Night Elf magic potion now. Unholy Aura was also nerfed, and it's now in line with the Endurance Aura of the TC. This is also something that a lot of people were asking for. Animate dead corpses, that is the DK ultimate, can now be killable and have Disease Cloud if researched. That's really good. Why is that really good? It reads like a nerf. Animate dead, the ultimate, raises some corpses from around you, and they are invulnerable, have a short duration, and once the duration is over, they disappear. Now they're killable. It reads like a nerf when it's indeed above. You want to use this as a meat shield, but since the units are invulnerable, your opponent just ignores them. And they don't work as the damage sponge that they're supposed to work as, and they can't be used by Dark Ritual, for example. So you can't sacrifice them to get more mana, for example. So that reads like a nerf, is indeed above. The problem here, it can be dispelled. And I don't think that's intended. So they need the same skill as, for example, a Doomguard has, or, you know, all the ultimate summons have. Then the change is done the way they intended it. Ghoul Frenzy now adds 30 HP to Ghoul base health. I think this comes from feedback that is very outdated, because ghouls are in a very good spot. Now they even get buffed. I will say more about this in my patch analysis, but on paper, Ghoul buffed with Frenzy, which does now provide movement speed, attack speed, and HP. That's a lot. Rod of Necromancy, this is a little confusing. Rod of Necromancy cooldown reduced from 26 to 24 seconds. It is 24 already. So something's wrong here. Maybe they want to reduce it to 26 and just got it wrong. I'm not too sure. Disease Cloud reduced from 90 to 75. That is not only duration reduced, that is also damage reduced, because it does damage over time. And if you reduce the time, you automatically reduce the damage. Obsidian statue level increased from 2 to 3. I've seen some people say, oh, it's tier 3 now. No, that is the unit level. That only means that it gives more XP now. And that is very good because statues give a ridiculous amount, little amount of XP. That's it. No other changes to Undead. I will leave it up to you if that's enough or not. Put it in the comments. Items. Wind of Illusion reduced from 3 to 2 charges, so 30% less. Wind of Illusion was an item that 10 years ago or so, everybody sold it, nobody saw the value. Now it's one of the best items because you get a lot of information, you can manipulate the creeps a little bit, you can use it to creep with. So Wind of Illusion, while it wasn't changed in the past 10 years, got a lot more value, so this is an adjustment that I appreciate. Wind of Mana increases mana steal from 50 to 75, 50% increase. Wind of Mana stealing is always considered a bit weaker than, for example, a Mana Potion. So this is addressed. Circlet stats reduced from +2 to all stats to 1, 1, 2. So one of the 3 stats always gets 2, the other get 1. But players can click to toggle the item to add an additional 1 stat to any attribute. If you play Dota, this is Power Treads. You can toggle this. So if you need damage, go for your main stat. If you need HP, go for strength. If you need a little bit more mana to cast your spell, go to intelligence. Can be annoying, but this is, if you have the extra micro, can be a little reward. And the movement speed auras are 0.5 now. Both of them. That is half of what the race auras do. Map pool updated. And I do have the map pool on Twitter. I just gotta look it up because they don't state what it is. So I looked it up for the ladder. It's this. Amazonia still in. Autumn Leaves, Concealed Hill. Echo Isles is in, but the old version without the 12 o'clock gold mine, for example. Last Refuge is in. I don't know what version of Last Refuge. Northern Isles, Rusty Creek 1.1. That is the updated one, if I'm not mistaken. Secret Valley 2. That did surprise me. Shallow Grave Tide Hunters, that's a good update. And Twisted Meadows, but also the old Twisted Meadows. So it's old Twisted, old Echo. In general, more streamlined though than it was before. So knowing that the maps were outdated and addressing this, kind of nice. And I guess that is almost it. There's a couple of bug fixes. That's good that they know that the game isn't in a functional state, really. So the most important thing, that's like some random stuff, fixed an issue with leaderboards not updating. I really hope this also tells them how to count, because the leaderboards are completely broken. Wins don't count. Some people have 5 million games on their account. That's odd. I don't really know. The other stuff, minor bug fixes, I'd say. And this has been addressed. This is cool. The campaign of Durotar campaign, the founding of Durotar campaign was bugged because of a cache issue. I think the cache issue is still unaddressed as of now, but they responded to a bug report recently. That is the biggest issue for the user-generated content community and also ruins the original campaign. So this is, I guess, a step towards fixing that. But the main issue is still not fixed. So that's the patch. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me how you like it. There's obvious bugs still. Like the militia HP is not the same as the peasant HP. Berserker headhunters cost or don't have the cost increased. That's bugs. Let's just assume militia have the same HP as peasants. Let's just assume the Immolation is not doing twice the damage, but you know, what I told you. That must be fixed, and that probably will be fixed. I want to hear your comments, and if you're a content creator, if you're a player, if you're a person of the scene, if you think you're very smart and you have a good opinion on this, create content. It's so important. Do videos, do posts, tweet about it. This is such a great thing that we get a content patch, because balance updates are content patches. Let's use it and make the best out of it. They rely, like, to me it's very clear that they rely on feedback. It's also pretty clear to me that they read the forums, because a lot of these changes come from the old team, of course, but there's also a lot of stuff in there that's from the new team, or from the new team, whoever is working on it. Also, a lot from Remo in there, a lot from, I think, a bit of Lawlight even in there. So they listen. They don't talk, but they listen. And now, that's it. So yeah, feel free to leave your comments. How do you like this patch? What are your ideas? And what do you think is missing? That's an important point too. Post it in the comments, post it on the socials. I will be back with my feedback and my analysis of this in another video. Also, I will react to Grubby, and Remo has his analysis already on. So we're going to show you that now. Take care, everybody.